And we're live. What's going on, guys? The very first live class of 2018. I might just adjust the camera here and make it look a little nicer. So I'm in frame. Oh, still crooked. Here we go. All right, so I'm a few minutes early, guys. It's always better to be early than late, but welcome to today's Ask Pete Anything class. Today we're going to be answering questions, anything that you guys want to ask related to English, related to Australia. Just ask me a question. If you want to hear me talk about certain things like Australian animals, Australian culture, if you want me to talk about grammar, that's good too. It is totally up to you guys. You just have to ask me a question in the comment section below. G'day Lisbeth, Renaud and Marie. Salut mes amis, j'espère que tu vas bien. Just speaking a little French there, guys. Natalie, how are you going? I hope you guys are all good. I hope you had a good Christmas. Hope you had a good New Year's Eve. I'm currently down living at my parents' place at the moment, so I moved down to Ocean Grove. That's why there's probably this change of scenery. This is my dad's office. Adriana, how are you going? So I'm down here at the moment, and my aunt and uncle are downstairs, actually, having dinner with my parents and my sister and my niece. My sister's brought over her baby, my niece. She's brought her over to show my uncle and auntie. I think Isabel's now 9 weeks old, so she's very, very, she cries a lot. Daniela, how are you going? I am 30 and I'm not single, unfortunately. Carla, how are you going? Lots of Brazilians here tonight. All is okay. Renaud, Mary, I'm good, and I am excited to do today's live class. So we'll give it one more minute, guys. Get settled. I guess grab a pen and notepad if you want to take notes at all. And remember, if you have questions, put those questions in the comment for me, and I will try and answer them as soon as I can. Akan's here, Rocio is here, G is here. How are you guys all going? G'day. So I guess we'll just start. I've got a few questions here. So I sent out an email, and I also sent out some obvious messages on Facebook and in the Facebook group in order to try and get some questions ahead of time, so before we actually do the class, so that I'm not just waiting here for ages and ages while you guys put comments below. So thank you guys for that. Make a note of 7 p.m. Melbourne time every Tuesday. That's when I'm going to try and do these classes at the moment. So put a note in your diary. This time, this exact minute, is when the classes are due to start. So give yourself a reminder so that you know in future there'll be a class on next week at this time. And if you haven't signed up for the podcast, make sure you go. There's a link in the thing at the top there, or probably over here. I don't know where it is on Facebook, but there's a link there. Go over to the website. You can download the podcast on your phone. It is 100% free. You can listen to me define expressions, talk about Australian culture, history, all sorts of things. If you guys are interested in culture, history, Australia, all that sort of jazz. If you're interested in that, get on there and get the free podcast. And I've also got a link there for all my downloadable freebies. So if you want all the free stuff that I have on there, just sign up to the email list and you will get access to that. Also, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. If the mic is working all right, I always forget to ask that. And if you wouldn't mind, please share the video, because that will give me a boost in who can see this on the Aussie English page. So please give it a share, please give it a like, and we can get straight into it, guys. All right, let's get into it. So the very first question here that I got via email was from Christine, who's in Germany. And Christine was asking if I could explain the difference between the auxiliary verb must, as in like I must do something, it's an obligation, I must, and just the verb to have to do something, to have to. All right, so these are very similar and they're related to obligation and expressing obligation. So you must do something, you have to do something, but there are slight grammatical differences. So have to is where the obligation comes from someone else, and it's usually a rule or a law. as opposed to coming from the speaker who's saying it. So you have to do this. It's the law. You have to do it. Whereas must is an obligation that comes from the speaker. The speaker is saying that you must do something. So have to is external. It's a rule. It's a law. Must is usually from the speaker. So let's go through some examples for have to. You have to wear a uniform at school. It's the rules. You have to wear a uniform. Do we have to get to work by 9 o'clock? Do we have to get to work at 9 o'clock? We have to, because that's the rules. And you have to renew your license every few years because that's the law. You have to do it. You have to. And a little pro tip there, notice how I say have instead of have. I'm not saying a V sound. When I speak quickly, I say an F sound. Have to. Have to. You have to. And I'll also let you in on another little pronunciation secret there, a little tidbit. When I say have to, I often say have ta. So it's just an sound. I have to. So you have to wear a uniform. Do we have to go to work? Do we have to get to work by 9? And you have to renew your license every single year. So I hope you enjoy those little tidbits there for pronunciation. All right, must examples. Examples for must. You must do this. You must. Remember, this is the obligation coming from the speaker. I'm telling you, you must do this. It's not a law. It's not a rule. So I must call my dad later on. I must do it. You must hand your homework in on time. If I was a teacher saying that, you must hand your homework in on time. She said I must come visit her sometime. I must come and visit her sometime. So obligation, but it's not a law or rule. However, that aside, guys, to be honest, they're interchangeable. Don't worry about, do I have to use have to? Do I have to use must? If you pick either one, everyone is going to understand what you're saying. It's not going to change anything. I must go, I have to go. I must see him later. I have to see him later. It doesn't matter. To be honest, it doesn't matter. The only caveat that I would mention here is that when you're making questions, when you're forming questions, must I go somewhere? Must I do something? Must I be there? That sounds very posh. It sounds very, very posh. I would be more inclined to use have to. Do I have to be there? Do I have to see him? Do I have to go? So, long story short, they mean the same thing. Effectively, they're interchangeable. I would just pick have to and focus on that. If you hear must, just be aware that it means the same thing, okay? So I hope that helps, Christine. All right, might have a quick drink. All right, Juliana Augustina, she asks, Pete, do you have any suggestions for learning vocabulary effectively? Do I have any suggestions for learning vocab effectively? All right, so I guess if it were me trying to learn vocab, trying to expand my vocabulary, I would be looking for a lot of resources, materials, things that I like to consume in that language. So in English for you guys, obviously. I would be looking for YouTube channels with subtitles. I would be looking for books. I would be looking for magazines. Anything where you can see the English. Hearing it isn't as important, but you need to be able to see the words if you want to be able to identify and look for the words that you don't yet know, or the words that you recognize but you're not 100% sure how to use. So this is the advice I always give my students in my classrooms when I'm teaching them one-on-one. Get some materials where you can almost sift through these materials. To sift is like, I guess it's like pouring something through a sieve and trying to find the things inside it. Like if you lost your watch in some sand, you'd sift through the sand. Sift through these materials for the words, the vocab, the expressions you don't know, so that you can then learn them, you can focus in on them and expand your vocab. So that's it. Study them. So study these materials. It's not good enough to just watch something without subtitles one time. It's not good enough to just read through a book and not take notes or not highlight the words that you don't know. You have to actively study. So you need to be finding these words you don't understand, that you don't know, that you don't recognize. You need to be taking note of them. You need to write them down, look them up, find example sentences, and then you need to actively practice these things, whether it's writing sentences with these words, using them out loud and creating sentences. If you're just talking to yourself, you could find friends with whom you can practice these words. And then lastly, I would suggest you try to find a spaced repetition system. So this is called an SRS system for learning vocab. This is my secret weapon when I'm learning vocab in a foreign language. So spaced repetition system. You will have heard me talk about Anki, and there's also one called Quizlet that is an online website that's free. Anki's also free. I've spoken to Roshio, who's in the comments here somewhere. I've spoken to her a few times. She likes Quizlet and uses that and seems to be using that to great effect. That's helping her learn her vocab and expand her knowledge of English. So I would look for Quizlet. I believe that's spelt Quizlet, Quizlet, and Anki or Anki, depending on how you want to pronounce that. And that is spelt Anki. So spaced repetition system. This is a program that exposes you to the vocab you're trying to learn. So you create effectively flashcards with the gap for what that piece of vocab is, where it is in a sentence and it's missing. You create a flashcard, a virtual flashcard, and then you turn it over and the answer's there. If you get something wrong, you'll see it more often until you remember it. If it's too easy, you won't see it very often. So that's why these programs are really effective, and I would suggest that you use these in conjunction with all of these other resources. My podcast with the transcripts, YouTube videos with subtitles, books, magazines, movies, whatever it is. Find vocab you want to learn, expressions you want to learn, and then put them in an SRS system like this, Quizlet or Anki, or Renault says here, Word Steps is another one as well. So just find something like that. And I found that when I was learning French, that just was insane. I remembered all these words all the time. They would be on the tip of my tongue and I could just say them without having to think. They just came to me. So these things are really powerful, but you have to use them on a daily basis, okay? You have to keep that rhythm going. So I hope that answers your question, Juliana. And yeah, let me know how you go. Make sure that you get back to me and reply to me and tell me how you're going with learning your vocab. All right, so the next question comes from Rogelio. So he wants to know about preparing for the IELTs. So, all right, disclaimer. I do not know that much about the IELTS exam. I haven't read through it before. I'm not a teacher of IELTS specifically, but I will try and give you some advice on how, if it were me, how I would prepare for the IELTS exam, okay? So, learn about the exam. What is on the exam? What does the content include? Listening, reading, writing, speaking, all 4 components like that are on there, but what does that include? What do I have to do with each of these components? I would learn the format of each of these tests for listening, reading, writing, and speaking. What's the format? What is required of me? I would understand for the IELTS exam, I would understand what am I going to be faced with, okay? Scoring. I would want to know how the band score that I am trying to get is assessed. I want to know how they are assessing that band score so that I can aim towards doing well for that assessment, okay? Another good example or another good suggestion is looking for frequently asked questions about the IELTS exam. So if you go to the IELTS website, I'm sure they will have a frequently asked questions page, FAQ, and I would look at what other people are asking because they probably have the same questions as you regarding the IELTS exam. I would also look up on YouTube how to prepare for IELTS. Okay, how to prepare for IELTS. And this is exactly what I did when preparing to answer this question, okay? You need to know which test you're going to do. Are you doing the academic test or the general training test? Okay? And then you need to prepare appropriately. You need to do practice exams. You need to look through practice exams. You need to know and understand the types of questions that you're going to get. You need to revise those exams ahead of time, before the actual exam. Don't go in there unprepared. You need to find out what you're worst at. You need to find your weak point. Is it speaking? Is it writing? Is it reading? Is it listening? And you need to level that one up. And I have an analogy here. Maybe you guys won't know this, but I used to play the game Pokemon. Pokemon was a game where you caught animals and you raised them, you would level them up, and you would fight them. And there used to be two groups. One group would get the very first Pokemon in the game, and they would only ever use that Pokemon. And that Pokemon would get really, really high in levels, whilst all the other ones would stay very, very low. Whereas I was sort of anal about raising them all at the same rate. And that is what I would suggest that you need to do with IELTS. If you're aiming for a band, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 9, whatever it is, you need to get every single component, listening, reading, writing, speaking, into that band. So you don't want to be good at just one and have the rest down here. You need to level up the weakest ones, the ones that you're worst at, and make sure that they're all landing in that band, okay? You need to have a goal. What band are you aiming for? And it needs to be a realistic goal. So you need to sort of say, am I aiming for a 6? Am I aiming for a 6.5? Am I aiming for 7? And what is required for me to be able to get into that band, okay? You need to realize that you are studying two skills at the same time. You're studying English, being able to speak and everything like that, that's English, but then you're also studying IELTS, the exam, and how to pass that, which is a process in and of itself, okay? So you need to work out, how much do I study the IELTS and how much do I study English, and work out that balance of what's required. Maybe your English is phenomenal and your IELTS skills are very low because you don't know that much about the test. Or maybe you know everything there is to know about the test, but your English skills are still low. So you need to work out how much time to put into each of those sections. You also need to work out what time frame you have to prepare. Do you have 2 weeks in which to prepare? Do you have 7 months in which to prepare? Taking into account that is going to help you decide what band to aim for, how to study, and everything like that, okay? You need to work out what the band score requirements are, speaking, writing, and what are the examiners looking for in the speaking and in the writing, okay? Because those aren't just yes/no questions. They're going to be, the examiners are going to be looking for specific things. Did you use these idioms? Did you use enough phrasal verbs? Did you use enough grammar tenses? So you need to try and look up, and I think you can find these online, how you're being assessed for the IELTS exam in a specific band score, and make sure that you're hitting those goals, okay? We're getting there, we're getting there. You need to learn the question types. What kind of questions are you going to get? There's 10 plus different writing question types, so you need to be familiar with those. You need to learn the tips and techniques for dealing with each of those questions. Don't just go in there blind without exposure to that. You need to know what are you going to be asked in the speaking test. You need to know the common topics and have the common vocab as well for IELTS, and you have to develop this, okay? So that's about it, guys. That's sort of it. They're the sort of tips that I would suggest. I would always suggest go and get private lessons. Try and find an IELTS instructor as well to assess you maybe, and give you an idea of what you need to improve on. But just go out there and make sure you research everything and have realistic goals. They're the main takeaways there for preparation for IELTS. So I hope that helps, Rogelio. I hope that helps, mate. One more drink, guys. All right, Natalie. Natalie wants to know, hi, I would like to know the structure of sentences when you talk about consequences in the present or future of hypothetical situations in the past. This one kind of confused me a bit, Natalie, but I think you were sort of after just basic sentence structure sort of stuff. So this is kind of difficult for me to just do in a quick sort of review of sentence structures, because it's probably quite an in-depth topic. I would just look up videos on YouTube with the specific kind of questions you're after, whether it's just basic sentence structure, if it's after sentence structures using different tenses. So I was looking at YouTube before. There's quite a lot of videos up there that are really, really high quality, where they go in depth about this sort of material. Some tips that I would have for just basic learning of how to create longer, larger, more advanced sentences is to try writing longer sentences yourself, and then I would put them up online on a website called Lang8, L-A-N-G, and then I think it's a hyphen, the number 8.com. That's a website where you can write in material and a native speaker will assess it and correct it for you. So I would write down on a daily basis, I would try and write maybe say 10 sentences, and just make sure they're longer than you're comfortable with, right? Something a bit different, something longer. Use a lot of conjunctions like however, or, and, but, whereas, thus. Use those kinds of conjunctions to make it longer, be descriptive, and then put them on Lang 8 and have a native correct them, and then review. So I would review the sentences after that, I would practice them, and then write them out again, and then create the next lot of sentences. And you just keep going over and over this process, and sooner or later you're going to understand how to create these sentences spontaneously, on the spot, when speaking. But you have to put in the work, unfortunately. And I would also suggest to focus in on topics relevant to your life. What are the kinds of things you like to talk about, like to read about? All of that stuff where the vocab's relevant to what you want to say in conversation usually, okay? All right, Jose. Jose says that scientists say that we learn our native language with the left brain, but the second language is learnt with the right side of the brain. But do you think this is possible? Do you think it's possible to match both sides and almost be a native speaker? So I was doing some research on this, Jose, and it looks like that sort of left brain, right brain thing is debunked. It's not true. There's bits everywhere in the brain that are used for all kinds of different functions, specifically when it comes to language too. It's not just one region. But that's not really the point of what you're asking. You're wanting to know, can you ever get to the point where you can speak like a native speaker? I think it's one of those things that it's always a possibility, but it's an exponential curve. It sort of goes up like this, and then it requires increasingly more time to keep getting up higher and higher and higher to native level. And quite often, once we've sort of climbed the majority of that peak, and we get up here compared to here isn't really that important. You know, if native level is here and you achieve here, and there's only this sort of gap between those two, it's not that important. But again, that's not what you asked. You wanted to know if you could ever do it. I think you could. I think that you will always be able to reduce your accent if you continue to do it, but that's an ongoing process. It requires months, years of practice. I know for French and Portuguese at the moment that I'm learning, every single day I am reviewing and practicing my accent, because I have lazy tendencies to change vowel sounds if I don't practice it, so I have to keep doing it. So that is an ongoing process. You can sort of come towards native level. You might even get there perfectly one day, but it's an ongoing process and it takes a long time, so you have to be able to appreciate that fact. It's not something that you can just make a small change today and presto, hey bingo, it's done, okay? So it's an ongoing process. On to, I guess, using the brain and how to sort of learn languages. I would say you have to kind of work out what kind of learner you are. Some people are very analytical and they're not as creative or expressive. They're not as artistic when it comes to the way that they think, and they prefer to do exercises. They prefer to just rote learn everything by heart until it's ingrained. Are you that kind of person? And if so, you might want to focus on those kinds of exercises for learning language. If you're not that kind of person and you absolutely hate, despise, detest doing exercises like that, I would suggest go to the creative side. And I think I'm sort of halfway in the middle, maybe slightly closer to the creative side of how my brain works. So I prefer to be speaking out loud and talking about things and using the language. And I'm very visual. I like seeing images. I like watching movies as opposed to reading books because I can see what they're doing. I can see the way that they're using their bodies, the expressions they're using. I can see the images they're talking about, tools and all those sorts of things. So I'm a lot more visual. So I would say try and work out which one of those sort of learners you are, or at least predominantly are. Maybe you're analytical and you prefer exercises, or just you're not visual, you like reading, or you are creative and more interested in images and expressive side, the expressive side of language learning. And then I would play to your strengths. So I would focus on which one you prefer, which one you like, and keep leveling that up. The other thing that I wanted to mention here is analyze your language and find your weak spots. And you have to do this constantly. You have to be looking for, what am I bad at? What am I horrible at? You have to interrogate your abilities and constantly be isolating the stuff that you're poor at, the weak spots, and fixing them. I have an anecdote from Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu is a martial art where you have to wrestle, and there's submissions where they try and hurt you and you have to tap. You have to give up by tapping. And there would be things that I would repeatedly do that would lead to me being defeated when I was fighting. And as opposed to getting angry and ignoring those things, I would constantly have to ask, how did you beat me? How did you get me? What did I do wrong? I want you to tell me. I would say this to my opponent. Tell me what I did wrong. How did you get past this? How did you do that? And then I would have to go away and fix it. And then I would come back and repeat. And that allowed me to advance pretty quickly with that sport compared to the average person if you weren't that kind of person to ask for those that sort of feedback and find your weak spots. It's the same with language. The people that I see who advance the fastest in English are the ones who are constantly out there making mistakes, actively trying to make mistakes, and then identifying those mistakes and fixing them every single day. Okay, so that is what I would suggest. You can either be in that zone of comfort where you feel comfortable and you don't have to try, you just stay here, or you can be all the way out in the zone of discomfort where you feel like crap and you're embarrassed. I would say get in the middle zone. You need to be constantly pushing and finding the edges of your comfort zone and expanding it. If you can get in that zone and stay there, you'll learn English and you'll get to native level incredibly quickly. Okay, so that's my advice. I hope it's not too long of an answer. Another drink. All right, Lima, this is your question, Lima. How to improve my sentences, making sense in terms of writing and speaking. So again, I think we kind of went over this with the question from Natalie about sentence structure. If you're worried about your sentences not making sense, I would just always be looking for someone to correct them. So I would be putting them up on Lang 8 and having people assess them. Native speakers correct them. That's free, Lang 8. And I would then be reviewing them. I would be writing them out once I get the corrected sentences back. I'd be writing them out multiple times. I would also suggest being creative. So don't just write out those sentences that you've just gotten back word for word. I would conjugate them through verbs. Use different verbs, but the same structure. Use different adjectives, different adverbs, but the same structure. So that's a way of training yourself and being creative. And then I would say do it by speaking out loud. So once you've learnt that structure that you're trying to practice, say it's a sentence like, I wanted to go to the beach today, but it was raining outside and I was cold. You know, there's quite a few clauses in there. I would get that and I would try creating another sentence like that. I wanted to go hiking today, but I couldn't because it was really hot. You have to be creative like that, and that will help you be spontaneous when you speak and create more complicated sentences. So that's my advice there. I hope that helps. But speak out loud, write different sentences, get them verified by a native speaker, however you can do that, and then just keep that process going and you'll advance really, really quickly. And again, use an SRS program. Use Anki, use Quizlet, use WordStep, whatever it is, and put your sentences in there, take out a few words and test your memory and say it out loud as you do so, and it'll level you up really quickly. All right. Roshio, this is your one. Roshio. In some American movies, I've heard the expression kudos to someone for something. Kudos to someone for something. As a way of expressing praise or congratulations to someone for something they've done. That's true. That's true. And funnily enough, Australians use this, and I would imagine British people, Scottish people, Irish people, South Africans, probably New Zealanders as well, all use this because we see it in American TV, in American movies. We see it everywhere. So I know kudos, and I've used it before. So it is American. It is from the word, I think, kudos, which is Greek in origin. And yeah, it is, as you say, you use it for praise or honor received for an achievement. So if you guys went and did your IELTs exam and you got exactly the score that you were after, I would say kudos to you guys for getting that score. Kudos for all the hard work. It's just a way of me praising you. Kudos for the hard work. Kudos for the achievement. So it's kudos for something, okay? You can definitely use it, and I think everyone would always understand what you mean. Another drink here, guys. All right, I got another question here, and then I will go through the comments and try and answer some of your questions in there. So if you guys have questions, remember, put them in the comments section below here, and I will answer those for you. So this one comes from G Senha. G Senha. Okay. So G was asking me about prepositions and why it was confusing whether or not you could use in or at in the sentence, I'm really good, blank, painting. I'm really good, blank, painting. So the correct answer there is at painting. I'm really good at painting. So this structure, we use this structure to be something, an adjective of some kind, at, and then a noun or the gerund. We use this structure when talking about something that we can do, sort of like a skill or a task that we can carry out, that we can do. And we always use at that thing, at that thing. I'm really good at that thing, okay? So to be, I am, you are, he is, adjective, good, great, not so good, average, and then the particle at, and then a noun. Footy, shopping, whatever it is. So let's go through some examples. He's okay at English. He's great at English. She's not bad at hockey. She's awful at hockey. They're awful at maths. They're horrible at maths. So you'll see that structure, they are, and then something, an adjective, at, a task, an ability, a skill. Remember though, if we want to do this with a verb and we want to turn the verb into a noun, we have to use the gerund, okay? So it has to be with the ing on the end. So you would never say, I'm good at to walk, or I'm good at walk. You would always have to say, I'm good at walking. I'm good at walking. You're brilliant at running long distance. You're brilliant at running long distance. Running long distance is the noun, it's the skill, it's the thing that we can do, the ability. So we're brilliant at running long distance. And then you could be also, we're skilled at cooking cakes. Cooking cakes. So remember to use the gerund there if you're talking about a skill and you have to turn a verb into a noun. I've also got some informal verbs here for ways to say the same thing. So these ones are really good. You might hear these, and if you use them, they will definitely give a bit of flavour to your English, okay? So you can rock at something. He rocks at surfing. I should add, all of these verbs mean that you are awesome at this thing. Really, really good at this ability, this task, this skill. You're really good. So you rock at surfing. He absolutely rocks at surfing. You guys rock at English. You rock. Okay, so you can use that to mean you're awesome. You can also use you rule, as in R-U-L-E, to rule. If you rule at something, it means that you're really good at it. You're awesome at it. He rules at footy. He's a really good footy player. He rules at playing footy. To dominate at something. To dominate is to do really well and defeat someone else, to absolutely defeat them. To dominate at something, you can dominate at a sport. It means that you're awesome at that sport. And the last one is to destroy at something. So if you destroy something, it's to completely break, to blow apart that thing. But if you destroy at something, it means that you are really good at that thing. She destroys at playing cards. These are informal, they're kind of slang, but they'll be ubiquitous in the English-speaking world. They'll be used everywhere. America, England, and Australia. You rock at that thing, you rule at that thing, you dominate at that thing, and you destroy at that thing. So use those, give you a bit of flavour when speaking with friends. And I guess Renaud asks here, is it the same as to be savvy? I think you could probably say to be savvy at something, but I think to be savvy, S-A-V-V-Y, to be savvy is more to be knowledgeable, to be smart, to be intelligent. So if I said, oh yeah, watch out, this guy's really savvy, he's really savvy, it means that he's very clever, he's very smart, and he might be savvy about something, at something. It's one of those difficult ones where it's so uncommon that the preposition's kind of difficult to know for sure what to use after it, but people will get what you mean if you say he's savvy about something, at something, with something. They'll know that it means that guy's really smart, clued in, intelligent, knowledgeable. All right. Oh, the very last one here, I forgot to mention, this one comes from Devraj. Devraj wanted to know about the glottal stop. The glottal stop. So if I said the word glottal, there are different ways of me saying this. I can say it in English, in Australian English, glottal. That's with me enunciating the T, glottal, tul. I can also say it with the T flap, glottal, glottal, and it sounds like a DR kind of sound, glottal. And the tongue is just touching the top of my palate up here. It's flicking black. Glottal, glottal. But then there's also the glottal stop, which is really, really common in Britain. And you'll hear this as glottal, glottal, glottal. I should get close. What's actually happening here is that instead of stopping the sound with the top of my mouth, I'm doing it down here with my throat. Glottal. I don't know if you can see it. Glottal. So it's happening really deep here. Until a few days ago, I didn't think this happened in Australian English, but I think Rocio actually caught me out saying something on the podcast, and she said, Pete, you used a glottal stop. I think that was Rocio. And so I went in and looked into this. But anyway, the British use this a lot. So for instance, they'll say, water. I've stopped it. Water. They'll say little. He's a little guy. That guy is a little guy, and he wants some water. So they'll use the glottal stop like that. And the last one is like what, the word what or what. They'll say what, and they use the throat to stop it. And maybe the word feet, as in feet. Your foot, your feet, your foot, your feet. They're using the throat. So that's when you're going to hear people use the glottal stop. It's usually when it's a T. In British English, they'll use it in the middle of a word like water, glottal, little. It's a very strong accent. Anyway, in Australian English, though, I noticed when we did this, and this is when we have, I think, like a T before another consonant. So I noticed it when I said something like, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I noticed that I stopped the T in my throat. The can't, as in unable to, I cannot do that, I can't. I stopped it in my throat, I can't do that, instead of in my mouth. I can't do that. So these are really kind of sophisticated points. They're not that important, but they will help you with your listening comprehension. So let's talk about that. Let's do it. I'll say water. That's how I would say it with the T flap. Water with the T, water with the T flap, and then water with the glottal stop. I'll do it with little. Little, little, little. I'll do it with what. I guess it's what. To do the T flap, I need a vowel after that. What, and what. Foot, and foot. Foot. That's difficult for me to do. Anyway, so the glottal stop is there. It's apparently used in Australian English as well, but it's usually on a T to stop the T sound before another consonant. So I won't go. I can't do it. I can't do it. Anyway, it's not that important, but I hope that helps, Devraj. I hope that's interesting. Anyway, let's go through some of these questions that you guys have got. I'll scroll up to the top and I will try and go through some of these questions. If you guys have questions, put them in the comments section and I'll work my way through. And if you've missed the start of this episode, don't worry, I'll put it on YouTube and I'll put it on the podcast so that you can listen later, because I know that you guys love to just hear conversation like this where people are just talking and I'm talking about all of these different things related to English. So, Akan says he's at work, but he's going to try and watch the video when he can. What has Daniela said here? She's living in a hostel and working here, so if you can talk a little bit about it and some vocabulary related to it, it would be awesome. So frustrated. I get used to the accent in Sydney, but here in... And then I don't think I can see the comment. It's too long. So I'm not 100% sure what you're asking about there, Daniela. Can you chuck it down in another comment, but just make it a little shorter? That was too long and I missed the end of it. What else have we got here? G'day, mate. Your videos are amazing. I like the podcast as well and play it on my way home from college. That's awesome. What else are we going to do? Sorry, guys. So Justena says, what are your recommendations for me for training on the IELTS? Well, we went through that, so I hope that helps. If you missed it, go back and have a listen again, and I talk about all the different things that you need to do for practicing, preparing and training for the IELTS exam. I think the most important thing would just be enroll in an IELTS school or get private lessons from an IELTS teacher. You can't go wrong with someone who's specifically trained at teaching you how to pass this exam. So you'll definitely get your money's worth if you do that. Scrolling. Please explain the difference between once and since. Oh, that's a difficult one. You're putting me on the spot. Maria. So once versus since. Let me see what this is. So once, I guess... once is like one time in the past. At least I'm thinking about it now. So like I've been to France once. That would be like I've been there one time. I've been there once. You can also use this as a way of saying when off the top of my head. So like once I get there, I'll help you. And that's a way of saying when I get there, I'll help you. Once I'm there, I'll help you with what you need. Once I get there, things will be different. I went to France once, but I'm going it again, and once I get there, it's going to be amazing. So you can use it for one time in the past, you can use it for when, and I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Once. Yeah, I think those are the two main ways of using once. Since is talking about the time between a period in the past and now, I believe. Again, I would have to look this up to give you the specific definition, but since starting Aussie English, my ability of teaching has improved. So since that time, since the beginning. So that's talking about the time since it started, okay? Since, is like that. But then we can use, since I'm here, so we can use since as well as a way of saying like considering that. So since I'm here, I'll teach you guys English. Considering I'm here, I'll teach you guys English. Since I am here, because I am here. So we can use since that way as well. Something that started in the past up to now. Since then, I've been doing this. Since last year, I've been learning French. Since 10 years ago, I've been living in France. And then we can use it as a way of saying, because I'm here, considering I'm here, and then the rest of whatever you want to say. Since I'm here today, guys, I'm going to teach you English. Since you guys are here, you're going to improve your English. So I hope that helps, Maria. So, what else have we got here? Daniela says download the book Ace the IELTS. That's apparently a good one. Ace the IELTS is awesome. They teach you how to do it, and you will learn a lot too. Thanks, Daniela. Okay, Soma, how can I be a good listener? If you want to upgrade your listening abilities, the stuff that I would suggest that you do is listen. Listen as much as possible, but with a caveat. Get resources you can listen to, with a transcript, with subtitles. You need to have something that you can check you're hearing what they're saying, okay? That is the crucial thing. It's not enough to just listen without, being able to read it or see the words that they're saying. You need to be able to check what they're saying. You need to be able to verify that what you're hearing is written. And also, if you're missing anything that you're hearing, you can see those words and you can pay attention to how the pronunciation, the speed that they spoke at may have hidden those little words. So the biggest thing for improving listening, I would say, is one, have something you can listen to and vary it. Don't just listen to the same thing. I would listen to as much English as I can, different accents, different genders of people, different ages of people, young, old. But then I would also make sure there's some kind of transcript or subtitles. And then obviously that feeds into learning vocab. So you can take all the words, all the expressions that you don't know, you can look them up, find example sentences, and then you can feed them into your SRS program. So into Anki, into, what was the other one? Quizlet. Okay, so that is how I would suggest you improve your listening. I hope that helps, Soma. I know, Lima asks where the postcard wall is. So it's not up yet. If I went into my bedroom right now, it's a bombshell. It is a pigsty. There is crap everywhere, and I haven't been able to put up the postcard wall yet. So I've received so many of these postcards from you guys, and I will put them up and I will read them out on a live video in the future, but I just haven't had the chance yet as I've been moving house. So apologies for that, guys. What else have we got here? Ali, Happy New Year to you, mate. Rocio, she says, for guys looking for the IELTs resources, search in Google edX, EDX, and then IELTS, EDX, IELTS. There's a free online course that might help you guys. So thank you, Rocio. And what else have we got here? So Devraj wanted to know about the glottal stop. We did that. Christine wants to know, can you explain the difference between ill and sick? No difference. No difference. At least in terms of being unwell. So those are two synonyms. He's unwell, he's sick, he's ill. They mean the exact same thing. But you can use sick in other ways. So if you say someone has a sick mind, that is like they think of dirty things or they make inappropriate jokes. Maybe they're really violent, and they talk about things that are inappropriate. They've got a sick mind. So it's kind of like their mind is unwell, but it's a figurative sense like that. You can also use sick to describe something as an adjective. Oh man, that is sick. That is so sick. And that's kind of an informal slang way of saying that thing is awesome. So you might see a surfer who's out in the water, he's paddling, he catches a wave, and he just, does some really sick moves. His abilities are really sick. That guy is sick at surfing. So we can use that that preposition again. So he's sick at something. He's awesome at something. So that's how I would use sick. Sick has more meanings, but when it comes to ill and sick, there's synonyms. He's ill at the moment, he's sick at the moment. So what else have we got here? Let me scroll down. Savvy like computer savvy. Exactly, G. That's it. If you're savvy at something, you're savvy, you can just say I'm computer savvy. I'm that thing savvy. So, tech savvy, techno savvy. What else have we got here? Verna wants to know about pronouncing can and can't. Alright, so I'm trying to think. What can I compare this to? How would you say this part of my body? Hand, right? Hand. And if you take the D off the end, it's han. And if you take the H off the start and put a C there, it's can. Can. I can help. I can see. I can. If we want to say the negative version, as in CAN''T, it's a different vowel sound, and that's the difference in Australian English. You won't hear the T very often. You'll hear can and can't. Can and can't. Can sounds like hand without the D and with the C at the start. Can. Can't sounds like the word car, brum brum, driving a car with an N on the end. Can't. Can't. Can, can't. So they're two different vowel sounds. They're subtle, but you'll get used to hearing these if you pay attention. Can, can't. Can, can't. And that muted T happens quite a bit. With words that end in a NT sound, the T often disappears. So instead of saying, trying to think of an example, plant, I might say plant. Instead of saying, trying to think, hunt, I might say hunt. So what's happening there? Hunt, plant, can't. Instead of saying the T sound, my mouth gets into the position ready to say the T, and then it stops. It doesn't release it. So I say can't, and then I just say can't, and I stop. The tongue goes up, and I stop. Plant, plant. The tongue comes up, and I stop. Hunt, hunt. The tongue comes up, and I stop. That happens a lot in Australian English. There are loads and loads of stop consonants where we don't say the last consonant on a word. Another example is lake. Instead of saying lake, I might say a lake. Instead of saying a light, I might say a light. Instead of saying stop, I'll say stop. My back, I'll say back. So I'm stopping, I just don't release it. Okay, so I hope that helps. So Christina, thinking on you, about you, at you. Which one is correct? Thinking about. So with thinking, the conjunction there, you'll have think about something. Think about something. You'll never have at is usually that it's going towards someone. You know, thinking at, it would be like I'm thinking like this, and it's going towards someone. So if you were sitting in front of me and I was thinking at you, you could probably use it like that. Thinking on you would be like I was doing this, thinking, and I was on top of you, okay? But anyway, in the case of thinking with the preposition, it's always think about something, or think of something as well. Think of, think about. All right, so Daniela. In Queensland, it's much more difficult. I don't know what else to do besides watching Home and Away, talking with everyone every day, but when they are all together, it's just impossible. Okay, so I guess I can do a little plug here. I can mention my product. If you sign up to the Aussie English Classroom, you can get access to the interviews that I'm doing, and a lot of them are with Australians who are from Queensland, who are from all over the place, but they tend to have stronger accents. So I've designed something in there in the Aussie English Classroom that you can sign up and get access to. It's $20 a month, but the first month is just $1, guys, 30 days, and I'm developing the interview section that goes with the interviews that I'll be releasing on the podcast every Wednesday. If you guys don't want to sign up for the Aussie English Classroom, you can't do it, you don't have enough time, for whatever reason, you can still get access to these interviews on the podcast. So I would recommend, Daniela, listen to these interviews on the podcast and read the transcripts. Like we were talking about before with Soma, you need to be listening but reading at the same time, okay? And the good thing about this is that there's two people speaking at once. So, for instance, I think it was episode 385, the interview with Stuart, the snake catcher. He's from Queensland, and I interview him about that. You can download the full transcript, or you can read it on your phone whilst you listen to that interview. And that is what I would suggest you do. You need to find Queenslanders, you need to find Australians with really strong accents who are talking multiple people at a time as well. So interviews, TV shows. But I would emphasize getting the transcript or the subtitles so that you can read what you hear, okay? So that is how I would suggest leveling it up. Aside from that, it's just repeat, repeat, repeat. Go out, meet people, talk with people, chat with other Queenslanders. Make sure there's multiple people around and don't shy away from groups. It's okay if you don't understand something that someone says, if you miss it, if you have trouble. You have to keep jumping back in the deep end of the pool and trying to swim, right? You can always go to the edge of the pool and hold on, but then keep going into the deep end and keep swimming, and you'll get better. But you're not going to get better if you shy away from doing the difficult work, okay? So get in there. What else did I want? What else do I want? What else is here? Aline, what do you mean when you say putting me in... Oh, no. Okay, so Elaine, putting me on the spot, okay? So I guess a way of thinking about that would be, imagine there's a spotlight above me and I'm on a game show, right? Imagine that this is a spot, a place, a seat on a game show, and I get selected out of the crowd and I get put on the spot. It's that now I have to answer something that might be difficult or hard, and I'm not prepared to do this. So that is why I use that phrase quite a bit. You put me on the spot, or I might say, don't put me on the spot. And this expression actually comes up in the interview episode that will be on the podcast tomorrow. I'm preparing at the moment with Christian. Christian asks me a question, and I say to him in that podcast episode, dude, don't put me on the spot, man. Don't put me on the spot. So you can imagine he's picked me up and he's put me on that spot with the spotlight in front of everyone, and he's asking a question of me. He wants me to reply, and I'm not ready. I'm not prepared. He put me on the spot. Okay, so that's what that expression means. So, Louise, Peter, I really love seeing your videos and all the advice from you. I'm Brazilian and I've heard some bad comments about accents, and it really makes me annoyed. What do I have to do to make, and then the comment ... I miss it. I assume, Louise, that you're asking what do I do to improve my accent. Alright guys, so I wish I had, my phone is here, I wish I could show you. What I do is that I am perpetually, constantly, all the time practicing my pronunciation. Practicing. So, for instance, you can use resources like the listen and repeat exercises in my podcast episodes. If you sign up for the Aussie English Classroom, there are exercises that are designed to develop your speaking, your pronunciation, like the imitation exercise that I did recently. You can jump on YouTube and you can search 100 most common words in Australian English, and I've got listen and repeat exercises there. But the thing is that you need to be constantly working your accent, okay? So I assume, you said you were Brazilian. Okay, the things that you guys have trouble with are following up consonants at the ends of words properly. So quite often you'll make a sound like porky instead of pork. So focus on those things. Don't put a vowel sound at the ends of words like stop or back. Sometimes Brazilians will say stoppy, backy. You've got to get used to cutting that and not saying a vowel after the ends of words that end in consonants. Another thing is, trying to think, the L sound. I noticed one of my Brazilian students has difficulty with L's, and he'll say ill instead of L. So that's another thing that you might be able to practice. Aside from that, I would say practice the vowels. Okay, practice vowels in Australian English. That will probably be why you potentially have a strong accent. And it's the same for me when I'm speaking Portuguese or French. It's the vowels that I'm really concentrating on. So do a search for 20 Australian English vowels on YouTube. There's a video on there where I go through every single vowel in Australian English and I give you pronunciation exercises. But long story short, if you guys want to fix your pronunciation or improve your pronunciation, you have to keep practicing it every single day. I guess a good way of doing it on your own, randomly, with all sorts of different vocab, is to use apps like Duolingo or Memrise. Memrise is the one that I'm using at the moment because they have audio where the person says the phrases that you're learning and you just listen, repeat. And I do that ad nauseum. I do that all the time. And my parents and everyone around is always like, Pete, you're constantly talking in Portuguese and French. It doesn't end. Just keep going and you got this, mate. You can keep improving. All right, what else we got here? Last week in the office, someone sneezed and said, bless my cotton socks. What does it mean? Oh my God. Arash, that's a good one. Bless your cotton socks. I think that's just a dumb expression, right? It's meant to be bless you, and that gets, the pronunciation changes there. So instead of saying bless you, because the you there, the Y is there at the start of the word you, often this will get changed to bless you. So it will sound like an SH sound, bless you, okay? Bless you, bless you. Bless you, achoo, bless you. You might also hear Gesundheit sometimes. That's the German way of doing it, but for some reason English speakers sometimes use that, Gesundheit. Bless you. But bless my cotton socks, it's kind of like something you would say to someone who's done something cute. So you would imagine, I think this would be with babies. You know, you would have a baby, wah, wah, and he would have cotton socks on, little cute cotton socks on the baby. Someone seeing those little cotton socks might be like, oh, bless his cotton little socks. So it's just kind of a cute way of saying that about babies. And obviously this person is just sort of making a joke and just using it here with when you sneezed as just, yeah, it's just a joke. But if you want to be funny, use that next time someone sneezes. Just say, oh, bless your cotton socks. And I'm sure you will get a laugh. All right, Louise wants to know what the difference between thinking and wondering is. Oh, again, you've put me on the spot. So thinking is like pondering, considering. So it could be something that it's an idea, it's something that you are considering, but it's not a question. So it's not something that you're trying to resolve. So for instance, if I didn't know where to go on holiday, I'm considering where to go, I'm thinking about where to go, but I wouldn't say I'm wondering about where to go. I think I would more use I'm wondering if, I would use that conjunction. I'm wondering if, or I'm just wondering if I can do this, or if this is possible. It's kind of like I'm thinking about this thing and I want to know the answer. I want to know if this is the case. That's when I would use wondering. So I would say these two things. I'm wondering if, so imagine I go to a restaurant and I want to get a table. I might say, hey guys, I'm just wondering if there's a table available for two. I'm just wondering. In that case, I would never say, I'm just thinking about if there's a table available for two. I'm wondering is kind of like I'm asking, I'm just curious if. That's another way of thinking about it. I'm curious if. Okay? I'm just wondering if. So I'm thinking about is more that I'm considering. It's not something I'm curious about, but it's something I'm pondering, I'm thinking about, I'm considering. And then for wondering, I would say it's more like, I'm curious, is this the case? Like, I'm just wondering, is that your car? Is this your dog? Is there a seat available for me in your restaurant? I'm just wondering. So use that conjunction. That's a really good one. I'm just wondering if. All right. Ali's got a question here. May we make verbs past time by adding did before the verb? For instance, in the office, I hear sometimes Australians will say, what do they say here? I did say instead of, is that true? I did say instead of I said. Ah, okay, I think I know what you mean. If you were to say, I did say this, it's that you're emphasizing the fact that it's something you said. Okay, so as opposed to, I said this. If you use do or did in front of another verb, I did say this. I do go shopping all the time. You're emphasizing the verb, so you can do it. In that sort of situation, though, it would be like the person is trying to reassure you or reaffirm the fact that actually I did say this. This is what I did say. This is what did happen. This is what did occur. It's emphasizing the verb there, okay? I'm just thinking about it. It's something I did do, yeah. So you will hear it from time to time, but I guess the takeaway message is use do in front of a verb, a bare infinitive, I did say, I do say, if you're emphasizing that verb. So, yeah, if someone said to you, is this what you said the other day? Yes, I did say that. Yes, I did. I definitely did say that thing. Okay, I hope that makes sense. What else have we got here? Wonderful eyes. Thank you, Diddy. Devraj asks, I'm confused about the coupon code. What is that actually? Okay. There's nothing on the site at the moment coupon code wise, Devraj. It's just part of how the login works on the website. So just ignore it, okay? Just ignore it. When you sign up, it's only $1. The Aussie English Classroom, guys, if you sign up to it, it's $1 for the first month. Okay, so the 30 days you will not pay the full fee, but after that you do pay the $20 per month. What else have we got here? Where can I find your podcast episodes? Raphael. Okay, Raphael, there is a link in the description. It should be above or on the side here where you can go to my website and you can listen to the podcasts on the website if you choose. So you can play them and you can read at the same time, but that you'll have to do on your computer. I guess you can do it on your phone as well. The easiest way to do this though is to download a free podcast app. So if you're on an iPhone, I would suggest the podcast app called Podcasts. It should be already on there. It's a purple icon and you just search for Aussie English and it will come up. If you're using an Android, you might want to use an application like Stitcher, but just search podcast app, podcast application. They'll be free. Download it and then do a search for Aussie English and you will find the podcast and it's free. You just download it, and with the majority of episodes, you will be able to read the transcripts for those. So for like the expression episodes, the interview episodes, there is a transcript of everything that's said, but I don't usually do that for these live classes because it takes so bloody long. If I was to try and do the transcript for this, it would take me hours. So there you go. All right. What do you call a very cold day in Aussie slang? Similar to a scorcher in summer. That's a good question. I don't think we would have a noun for it, do I? I don't think we would have a noun for a really, really cold day. I think we could express the idea like it's freezing, it's icy cold, it's ice cold, it's you're gonna freeze your butt off today. I'm going to freeze my butt off. So my butt is this part of my body, and if something is so cold that you freeze your butt off, that's the idea there, that you imagine sitting down on an ice block. Oh, I'm going to freeze my butt off. It's going to freeze and fall off. That's not that rude. You can use that. That's probably, it's informal, but you could use that everywhere. Today's so cold, I'm going to freeze my butt off. I'm going to freeze my butt off. But yeah, a scorcher for a hot one. It's an absolute scorcher. It's sweltering hot. It's boiling. We'll say that as well. It's incredibly hot. But then for a cold one, we would say, I'm going to freeze my butt off. If you wanted to get a little bit more crass, you could say I'm going to freeze my tits off. That one is very, very informal and slightly rude. I wouldn't use that around people at work or anything. And I guess to give you context, the word tits refers to this part of a woman's body. Just for context, you might hear that one, but that I've heard before too. It's so cold, I'm going to freeze my tits off. I'm going to freeze my butt off. But yeah, I would just say it's freezing. Today is so cold, it's freezing. It's a freezing day. So there you go, guys. I think that's enough for today. We've smashed an hour. We've done about an hour and 5 minutes, probably an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you everyone for coming. Remember, if you want the free downloads, sign up at the top there. Jump across. You can download them all. It's just an email list that you have to sign up for. Make sure that you've subscribed to the podcast and that you download that onto your phone. It's free. You can listen to it anywhere, anytime, whilst you're walking, running, at the gym, on the way to work, on the train, on the bus, wherever you are. And also make sure that you're using the transcripts. So jump onto the website and you can download the freebies with each episode. If they come with a transcript, they'll come with an MP3 as well. You can download those. You can print them. They're PDFs. And you can study them up close. I really recommend doing that, guys. There's always slang, expressions, all kinds of stuff in the transcripts. And if you haven't already, make sure that you sign up for the Aussie English Classroom. So this is designed to teach you Australian English. We go over the expression episode in depth every single week on a Sunday. So I release a new course with lessons. You get quizzes. You get to go through that. And you get points, badges, all sorts of stuff like that. And it will upgrade your English rapidly. And we also have a new speaking challenge for those expression episodes that come out. Okay, so everyone's just started doing that from last week. The speaking challenge is put on the Aussie English Facebook group that you can join for free. You just sign up there, and the speaking challenge is done there with everyone in the Aussie English Classroom. It's $1 to try it for your first month, guys. If you want to support the podcast, that is the best way to do it. And I might also mention that there's obviously Patreon as well, that if you would like to sign up to be a patron of the podcast and allow me to keep bringing you content like this, you can do so via my Patreon. The link will be in the description or in the transcript on the website, and you can donate as little as $1 a month to help me keep the lights on. Okay, so anyway, I've wrapped it on. Thank you so much again, guys. Remember to come next week, same time next week, 7 p.m. Melbourne time on a Tuesday, and that is Greenwich Mean Time, 11 plus hours. See you then, guys.